Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Sam and I'm a pencil artist, and my aim is to help other pencil artists to grow in skills and confidence and to really feel the benefits that regular creative practice has on health and well-being. So today I want to talk about a subject which is a little bit controversial, I suppose, but a lot of people, I've had a couple of messages and I've seen quite a few YouTube videos recently where artists have been talking about this. I thought it would be interesting just to have a think about this and to share those thoughts with you. When I first read the message, I suppose you get a little bit offended. You kind of take it personally because some people are saying realism, that realistic style, is not actually art. It's not very creative. Why don't you just print off a photograph and stick that on your wall instead? Or, you know, what's the point of it looking just like a photograph? You could save yourself a lot of time by just taking a photograph instead. But I think in that way, you kind of miss the point of having something that's, I suppose, better than a photograph in some ways. Because a lot of the time, my customers send me a few different photographs to work from so that you kind of combine them, because you might find that one photograph's got the character of their animal that they absolutely love, and when they see that photograph, it reminds them of their animal, that especially if they've passed, and it just captures their character, but there's no detail in there at all, so you might have to combine a few photographs to get the details. So in a way that ends up better than the photograph because they might not be particularly in focus. It also enables you to really focus on the animal, put life into their eyes and make it pop off the paper, and in that way it can be better than the original photograph. And also, most of the time we have all of our photographs on our phone and we just look through and there's a little photo, a little picture that we see, and we scroll through, and we don't really very often print them out and stick them on our wall. So in that way there's a real massive place for realism, especially when it comes to the pet portraits that I do, the commissions that I do, because actually you're trying to create something that looks like a drawing or a painting. It doesn't look like a photograph, it's different to that. Sometimes the photograph doesn't translate well into a drawing, so there's bits that you can miss out or bits that you can add. You can really up the colour or the saturation, or make their fur bigger, fluffier. I know you can do that with Photoshop, but I just think looking at that animal in a different way and really trying to capture their soul and personality is what pet portraiture is kind of all about. The other thing is that a lot of artists I know have probably come to art, this is my journey anyway, when I started out, I started copying things like, you know, books that I'd read or DVD covers, and I really wanted to make it look as close to the original as possible. And that for me was something that kept me going, that I was far away from the original drawing, so I needed to practice to get better at it. And the more it looked closer to the original, because I had that comparison, I could kind of see how I was progressing and getting better. And the same's happened really with my art career now. I've been drawing for 5 years or so, more seriously. I've been doing it since I was a child, but more seriously for the last 5 years, practically every day. And I look back at some of my earlier work, and although that was the best I could do at the time, and I was kind of proud of what I'd done, you know, that I felt like that was the best I could do. Looking back, I see how far I've come. And so little details like fur, how can I make it look more realistic? How can I make it look fluffier? It's always something that drives me to keep going, to improve, to get better, to work on. So I think someone that says that realism isn't real art, or doesn't have a place, they've probably not tried it, because I don't think they realise how difficult it is to actually do. And actually I've got a long way to go, and I don't think I'll ever get there actually, but I just want to keep improving, which I think is crucial to an artistic practice, a creative practice, because I think there's too much judgment and too much stigma and too many labels about things, when actually if you're enjoying something and you're trying to improve and you're trying to get better at it, and it brings you joy, and it you know, focuses your mind, and you find it relaxing, then I don't think there should be any judgment on that at all, really. Now, the idea that some people have said that realism isn't creative, And I kind of understand that to a point, because when you're doing pet portraits or when you're copying a reference photo that you're trying to make, the composition could be different. You could be adding different backgrounds, you could be changing it slightly, you could be mixing up a few reference photos. But a lot of the work that I do is actually trying to get it to look as close to the reference photo as I can, with kind of my spin on it, my style, I suppose. I don't think I'm ever going to be photorealistic because it's just my take on it. And maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe there's so much to learn with what I'm doing right now that the thought of trying to add more creativity is just a bit mind-blowing. I do like the idea of mixing things up a little bit, of trying different things, of adding, but my imagination is actually, although I've always said I've got a vivid imagination when it comes to things like, you know, watching a scary film, and I feel like I'm in it, and I feel like I can feel, and I get that horrible, like, ooh, jumpy feeling, you know, is there somebody in my bathroom? I've got a vivid imagination when it comes to that. But if somebody asked me now to draw a horse or a dog without looking at any reference photos, I don't think it would be very good. If I close my eyes now and try and imagine what a dog looks like, although I've drawn hundreds over the years, I definitely hope I would be a lot better than I was a few years ago, I would get it wrong. I feel like personally, my brain, the way it works, needs some kind of point of reference to be able to work it out in my head. I remember playing a game of Pictionary once, and I wasn't very old. I was probably about 10 or 11, but I had to draw a walrus, and I could not for the life of me imagine what a walrus looked like. And so my drawing was horrendous, and I've always drawn. So maybe we need to just be a little bit kinder to ourselves and think about how our minds work and what we find interesting, or what we enjoy, or how our style works best, and not really worry too much about labelling it as anything. I think anything that you produce that wasn't there before is creative. It doesn't matter what it is, really. And I would hate for people to be discouraged or to be knocked and their confidence to really drop if somebody says that what they're doing, what they've spent hours on creating, is not real art. I disagree completely. I would love to kind of try new things, use a little bit more of my imagination, but I think that's a whole another skill set that is going to take time and practice to do, like the stage I'm at now. I know how long things take to learn, and I know I've got many hours of practice ahead of me to get to a point where like I said, I don't think I'll ever get there, but just to improve, just to look back and just to see how far you've come, if that makes sense. So using my imagination and creating something from scratch without having any reference photos, points of reference or light or whatever, is a whole new skill set that at the moment I know that I wouldn't be able to do. In the future I might. Who knows? And sometimes I think it's what you're drawn to. So whenever I go to an art gallery or I look on Instagram and see some of the amazing artists, I'm always drawn to realism, because I know what it takes to be able to create something. So when there's something that's absolutely amazing, it stops me. And that's what fills me with excitement and inspiration and makes me want to try even harder. So sometimes it's what you're drawn to. If you're drawn to abstract art or impressionism or all of the other different, cubism, all of the different art styles, then, you know, it's whatever fills you up. It's whatever lights you up. It's whatever gives you joy. So I think instead of judging yourself and thinking, is that the right way to be? Just enjoy it. And if you want to create it and kind of replicate it, putting your spin on it, then I think that's a brilliant thing. I'm all for people creating in whatever way they think it feels good and doing it as part of their day and to be proud of what they create. So I think, to sum up, everything creative is art. I think it's art, definitely. I think it's got a place. I think it's difficult. I think it takes a lot of practice. I think anyone that says it's easy and why not just take a photo has probably never tried it, and so it looks easy. And I think a lot of the time when people have been doing it for donkey's years, they make it look so easy. So give it a go, have a try, and then you might have a new appreciation for it. Who knows? But yeah, I hope that makes sense. Let me know your opinions on realism or your art, or what you love to do, or how you got into realism, or how often you create. I would just love to know. Leave that in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you see more videos like this, and push that bell notification so that you don't miss one. And I really look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.